Welcome to the XrossroadZ Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Hunter Grand, your personal agent for change, making life easy, Barzini.
And I'm fempreneur extraordinaire and tech diva all day, Dre Renee.
And this is the XrossroadZ, where there's only one rule.
Be free to be you.
So, y'all, we apologize because we already...
I'm not... Why we got to apologize? They're coming into our conversation. We're not getting into theirs.
We done already started the conversation, y'all, and we just decided to hit the button. So, this is going to be another unscripted episode. But the topic was kind of high, right? So, we just gonna dive into it. I made a post the other day, and I was stating that I think it's wild how people have several friends of the opposite sex, right? Let's take Dre and I, best friends, for 25 years. And I have several, close friends who are women. And we talk about how there are no good men or women out there, but yet we have friends of the opposite sex. And so the question was, wouldn't our friends be proof positive that there are good men and women, because they're good to us or can be good or whatever, right? And so, and then I said, or do we put too many BS expectations on people once we get into the relationship? And that's when, the discussion started. And so that is just something that I've been wondering, why do we change the rules when we get into relationships? So for me, my ideal relationship is my friendship, but with sex.
Right.
Like, to me, it's really that simple. Not entirely that simple. There are other components, intimacy and, when you start talking about doing life together, yes, there's other things that come along with it. But generally speaking, we conduct ourselves the same way we did as friends, right? Because one, I feel like we don't establish friendships first. You know what I mean? We're typically out here jumping straight into dating, and that's just the social norm now, like dating apps, and you meet somebody and then you go out on a date and well, what are we doing and what do you want? And now you're just in this thing from the first date, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hadn't really established, like, who are we? What are we doing? And I saw this post. I see the post several times, but I saw it again just today. Like, what's the best question to ask on a first date? And people are, what do you want out of life? And have you gotten it? What are your achievements? I'm like, and my answer to that question is always, would you like to go out on a second date?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
yeah.
And there's
and I think that's at the end of the day, that is the most important question, because it, establishes the bridge to the next. But I think people are generally, so deep, right? When you think about your life partner, your spouse, your long-term, boyfriend or girlfriend, potential parent to your children, like, these things are important. But I think, folks think about it so deeply, right? That, and we've talked about it before, it can turn into job interviews and looking so far down the line that you are not paying attention to what's, directly in front of you. And so I think it all kind of boils down to, friendships getting grace that relationships don't. Right. I don't believe that there should be no expectations in a relationship. And I think, sometimes, we think about friendships kind of like, who gonna check me, boo, right? Like, you're not gonna get in trouble if you don't call me. I might be like, well, dang, you said you was gonna, call. Or maybe I, had something I wanted to share with you or whatever, but it's not like, I'm gonna stop speaking to you because you didn't call when you said you were gonna call. Right. But there's, to say like there's no expectation or should be no expectation, I think is false. However, if you don't meet it, or when, because we're human, right? When we don't meet the expectation in relationship that we don't meet in friendship, how do we then react and get ourselves back to,
So yeah,
the
so
safety zone?
let me ask you this. So why in friendships, right?
Mhm.
We don't really have that conversation about expectations in a friendship. We kind of just deal with them as they come. It's
Yeah. I mean,
hey,
I don't
we're
know if you
friends,
necessarily have that. Well,
right?
I
Yeah,
guess
I
there
mean we
are
don't,
some expectations in relationships, but
but
not necessarily like I expect you to to
but
call
people
me
do
when you
that,
say you're
right?
gonna call.
Or so it's like, okay, in friendships, we don't be like, well, if you're gonna be my friend, you got to do this, or you got to be this. Like we're just friends, right? And I don't mean
Yeah.
like we're just friends and not anything else. I mean we're friends. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it didn't take anything, and meet a list of criteria to be that. I don't even know if people really have a list of criteria for friendships as they do for as relationships. You
I
know,
believe they do. It may be more unspoken, but you know if you're vibing with somebody, if they're your type of person, if they like the things you like, if maybe they have some interest that maybe it's not the same as yours, but you can learn
but do
something
we?
from
Yeah, but
them.
do we
Like,
think about it? I don't think I agree with you. I just don't think we think about it. You see what I mean? I don't
yeah,
think.
we may not think about it. I'm just saying it has to drive or govern us in some way,
Mhm.
right? Because when we first started hanging out, if you didn't have a good time with me and vice versa, or whatever the case may be, we didn't have good conversation, like we would not have continued. So it's something, even if it's more innate or unspoken, there's something that drives the continuance of, hey,
Mhm.
you're cool, or what have you. So no, I don't think, and I mean it's been a long time since I I have actively dated, but I feel like that was the same as well. Like we did not sit down and go, give me your list and I'll give you my list. It was like, first we were already acquainted and friends, if you will. But then,
Mhm.
after you kind of do
Right.
your little
Yeah.
head cock, it was just like, oh, okay. So yes, we're adding this to that. And
Mhm.
so I probably have a different not different, but having the experience of dating your friend
Right.
versus
But
a
you also
friendship
didn't
and a
start
in a
going
relationship.
like you also once you guys realized you liked each other and decided to give it a shot, you didn't then be like, okay, well, now you have to do this because we're in a relationship. Like, no, you continue the friendship, right?
Yes.
You just all you did was change the status. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
And to be honest, some of that is challenging, right?
Mhm.
Because yeah, the expectation, I think even on the other side, or maybe, on both sides, is like you're gonna keep being, or you're gonna be okay with me being the same person that I was. And I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that there, I don't have to make any adjustments. And
Mhm.
that's just not true, right?
Yeah,
Like when
no,
you
and
start
yeah,
dating, that is
yeah,
right. If you're
and I
my
yeah.
friend, there are certain things that you do or don't do that don't impact me. If I could tell you all day, Jason, sorry, Barzini,
I think they know my real name.
I know,
I think they know my
but I
name ain't
will say
Barzini
that,
for
right?
real.
I'm being honest. I would not call him Barzini up here, right? Like, hey, I'm concerned about your diet, da 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 da. Let's talk about this. Where do you need support? How can I help you? Blah blah blah. And if ultimately you are like, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do now, will I, be impacted and devastated if something were to happen to you? Absolutely. But does it directly impact me in terms of, oh shoot, I got to figure out where to live, how to take care of myself because he's gone? It's a totally different ball game, right? So when we're in relationship, we're married, and you ignore those kinds of concerns, that is a different ball game because your decisions impact my life and vice versa in a way that friendship, it just doesn't. And so I'm
Yeah,
not saying that's how everybody goes about it. I'm just trying to bring a
right. But
nuance to,
yeah, but I
to
don't
the
see that.
conversation.
Particularly see that as different, right? I think what impacts you changes, but not the
Mhm.
fact that something that you do impact you, right? So because as friends, something that I might do will impact you, right? Because we're such a
Absolutely.
great friend, right? So
Absolutely.
so and I think that's more my point. Like, regardless of the relationship, the decisions of one or the other impacts, you know. Now,
Hmm.
as the status changes, what impacts changes,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, also, I feel like when we flip the script, instead of expectations, we think actions. So for me, my expectation of you doesn't change because we've gotten in a relationship, but what I do for you changes because we're in a relationship. Like, my choices and actions change, not my
Okay.
expectations. You know what I mean? And I would hope, right?
Hmm.
The same thing on the other side, but I think it's more akin to, I was watching the late Wayne Dyer, one of his speeches, and he was talking about, what if, instead of having expectations of people in relationships or marriage, we free people to be who they are. You right? Because I
Hmm.
feel like we box people in, and we say, like, we spend way more time trying to mold people into what we want them to be than we do vetting who they are before we get there and then allowing
Hmm.
them to be that, right? And I think it's important to, when you get with somebody, you have to assume this is who they're going to be
Right.
forever, because you don't control whether they change or grow or mature or whatever it is. So whoever it is on that day, you got to ask yourself, can if they were this way forever,
Hmm.
can I do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Knowing that you are most likely not going to be the same forever, right? And they have to make that same decision. So a lot of times we are, I heard a saying, it's like, women get with men hoping that they change, and men get with women hoping that they don't.
Right. And that's why I think I was getting at, right? Like, we not necessarily that you change, like the core of who you are,
Yeah, who you
I
are, who
hope
you are.
is
Yeah.
the is is what attracted, the person in the first place. But maybe it is a more of doing versus being. I don't think I ever thought about that before. And so maybe it is the expectation to be reflected in your actions as a partner versus what I have with my
Mhm.
friends.
Right.
So I think that's an excellent
Yeah, but but
point.
that's the thing is, that's how we view relationships, right? So, like, for
Mhm.
instance, my homegirls send me videos, relationship videos, all the time. And they're always 100% of the time, it's always a video about what a man should be doing and how he should be behaving, and men this, men that, men that. And I'm like, are you ever gonna send me a video of what you should be doing or how you should grow or what's the next,
Mhm.
right? So, but and then I get dudes that send me stuff, and it's the opposite, right? All these women
Right.
this and so it's like, no one wants to be responsible for their actions or their growth. It's always about, what can I get and what somebody should be giving me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And when we do that and we take that approach, we're not building value in ourselves. We would rather come up with, and I hate this saying and I hate this cliche. And no disrespect to people that say it, I just don't agree with you. And I frankly think it's dumb. When we say, oh, know your worth, right?
Mhm.
Because, and I've said it on previous episodes, and I think people react to that, react to what I'm about to say emotionally, when I say, you do not determine your worth, right?
Mhm.
Your worth is only akin to what someone values. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you're somebody, if you come to me, like, one, I love a woman who cooks, but let's just say, a woman comes out, oh, I cook 7 days a week. But let's just say, if I'm a 5-star chef, that's not as valuable to me. I might have a
Mhm.
much different palate. You know what I mean? So what
Yes.
you think is good is not what I enjoy. Or let's just say that's not the case, but let's just say I've had a lifestyle change and what I eat is way different,
Yeah.
right? And so now, you used to doing mac and cheese and cornbread and fried chicken, and I don't eat any of that anymore. Right. So it's kind of like, hey, where's some broccoli and chicken breast? And now it's like, you got all these skills and talents that you want to do. And it could be your love language. Like, you want to love on me with how you cook. Like, my mother was like that. Like, one way my mother shows love is she loves to cook for the people she loves. Right. And so now it's like, wow, I've taken this love language from you. You really want me to taste this mac, like you in there, and you want me to taste it, and you want to see my reaction from it. And now that's not what I do. Right. So what I value has changed. Right. It's like, it's not that I don't enjoy your cooking. I think it's great, but I value my health, and those things that you prepare taste great. I value my health over the taste of what you prepare. Right. So now your cooking isn't worth to me what it once was, or worth what someone else is, red beans and rice and all. It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel amazing. And so we try to, I feel, position ourselves in other people's lives where we want to be, rather than I'm allowing them to do it through our actions. Right. We want to be placed. We don't want to earn the spot.
Right.
We want to show up, and we require people to move other people out of the way, and other activities like, oh, don't be on the game, spend time with me. You can't be out with your friends. But these are the things that I was doing before you got here. Right. So now the question is, what is it that you do or bring to the table? Right. And I know what is it that you bring that's going to separate me from how I spent my leisure time before that? Right. You got to be greater than the game. You got to be, and I'm not a gamer, but I'm just saying, like, a lot of people are, So is spending time with you, and in your head, yes. Why would you not want to spend time? What are we gonna do? We gonna sit here and watch Law and Order, and I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? So, to your point, do we have similar values and hobbies and right? Things that we can enjoy together. But you can't just come in and say, I am worth this. This is how I see myself. And now this is how you need to see me as well. And I think we do too much of that.
Yeah. Excellent points. And so while you were talking, of course, we had some opportunities for those of you who are listening or watching. Really, for those of you who are watching, you would have seen it already. Just to ask, what are the differences that you believe exist between friendships and romantic relationships? And particularly if you have had the experience of taking a friendship into romance, if you will, what did that look like? And, one thing that I can say, I think, we followed what you just described, right? Like, I don't remember, and I have to say this, that way, because I don't want to say, and I didn't, and he's like, yeah, you did, but I don't remember coming in, demanding him to do certain things. I just paid attention. And
except carry water.
Right. Okay. Sorry. I did. Yes. Now, see, that's what I said. I don't remember, but
trash and water. Like,
there were certain expectations. Yeah. I was like, look, I don't, gender roles and all that kind of stuff. Particularly for the long haul, if we wind up doing things a little differently, I'm open to it. But there are two things that I have had to do, since I could do it, because I didn't have brothers. And that was, carry the, 24, 32 pack water and take the trash out. And, that's not something that I really want to do. So if you feel like, oh, that's man's work and you need to do this, because cool, let's, let's establish that. But those are my no-goes. And, it continues to be a joke, but it is followed. Like, I do not do those. Don't do those things. Now, as a military spouse, there's some times when I'm alone and, those are things that I have to do. But, it's because I'm alone, not because, of any other reason. So, but yes, excellent. Your memory is impeccable. But
it's a curse, trust me.
Right.
That.
So, just to pay attention to um him,
Mhm.
right? And so, there were some things I think that, of course I loved and was like, wow. And then there were some things that I didn't necessarily understand. I had, but I learned to ask questions, right? I
Mhm.
asked questions. He is unlike, honestly, the majority of people I've ever met or encountered before. And so even in thinking about my own dating history, I could not necessarily, and sometimes at all, connect a behavior, right? Or something that I saw in this relationship to something I had experienced in the past. I had tried to do that and was
Mhm.
terribly wrong. One
Mhm.
time, those of you who remember the Bobby Pin story, right? And so after that, I was like, okay, this means you have to slow down and not make things mean
What they used to mean.
what they
This
used to
this
mean.
is not that.
And that, I think, became one of the greater blessings. It could be a little annoying and agitating at times, because if you're used to turning stuff over in your brain and thinking, you got it, and it's like, no, that's
Mhm.
not. But also gave us the ability to, I think, really deeply and truly get to know each other, because yeah, you have to ask.
Mhm.
You have to ask. You have to share your feelings. When something, bothers me, for the most part, I like shut down. So
Mhm.
like, I'm not talking to you. I don't want, like, what you did. And so why why do I have to go over about what you did and all that? Like, I'm cool, you
Mhm.
know. And in this space, it was different, because I'm like, I could be over here stewing and mad about something that wasn't even what I thought. And then you've done this to yourself, right?
Mhm.
And so, as uncomfortable as I think it was, particularly, in the beginning, to like open up about how something made me feel, which was not what I, really was used to, or um, asking the question instead of assigning a blame, right? It was
Yeah.
just like, oh, but I think in the long run saved us a lot of headache and
Mhm.
heartache, right?
Yeah.
Even if there was disagreements, we have been able to keep them contained. I think it was a very long time before we had a like, I'm mad at you type situation, like
Mhm.
years. And then even with that, we've been able to recover much faster, I think, than any other experience that I've ever had. So there's value in that. And
Yeah.
I think we can absolutely tie that to how one or ones would act in
Yeah.
a friendship versus
Versus a relationship.
a
And
relationship.
sometimes we can practice, right? So I
Mhm.
just had a couple of days ago, I had a situation with a friend. And I'm not saying I checked her, but I had to bring something to her attention, right?
Like
Because it
tap
was a
tap tap.
trigger. Yeah, it was a
Mhm.
trigger. Like, let me pull your coattail on this.
Mhm.
And we were having a discussion. We said something, and I was actually agreeing with her and like adding on.
Mhm.
And she heard what she was hearing was different than what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And she said something like, oh, you always like disagreeing or always attacking me when I say this. And I was like, first of all, like, let me stop you right there.
Mhm.
And I was like, and let me say this, and I'm saying this in love. I was like, don't do that to me. I was like, I'm not attacking you. I
Mhm.
was like, I'm not even disagreeing with you. I was like, are my perspectives in general different than the average person? Sure. Right. But why would I attack you? You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
was like, so the thing is, if something I said or say makes you feel a certain way, we can talk about that. And I apologize if what I say hurts you, but what you don't get to do is assign an intent on what I say or do.
Mhm.
Right? Because when you do that, when you say I'm attacking you, then you're assuming that I mean this in a malicious way,
Right.
which now has me questioning our friendship. Because if you believe that I would do that, then how is it that you view me? Right? Like, this is my thought
Mhm.
process. But I shared it with, like, I wasn't going off on her, but I was sharing it. And she heard it and she received it, and like she changed it. Well, I feel like this. And how you, like, I can't control or tell you how to feel. right? Because we respond how we hear what we hear and we respond to it how we respond. But
Right.
if you would like to know what I mean by what I say, or clarification, or like I feel like you attacking me, let me make sure that this isn't before I respond the way that I want to respond, right? And so, but in relationship, I do this. The emotional stakes are so much higher that we often knee jerk to offense, right? And but love does that. Love does that, but it does it in friendships, but I think it's a different level or a different intensity in a relationship, right? So it's kind of like, you didn't say this, or you didn't, and sometimes when you make that shit, well, I didn't do this when we were friends, and I got with you because you didn't trip, and now you tripping. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, and I don't know if I'm off base with this, but we make things certain things. Yes, there are things that matter in relationships that don't necessarily matter in friendships, right? Especially if you're cohabitating or sharing your life or merging your life. However, in general, sometimes we look at people and when we're in the talking phase, or we just been going out and we kicking it, like, man, especially I speak on, from the men's point of view, like, bro, she's so chill. Like, she don't even be tripping on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't got.
But that's you guys' that's what you want in general. You guys want ease.
Alone. We want ease. We want peace.
You want and like, it's
like, bro, she's peaceful.
You know, y'all. Well, in general, men grew up with mothers, and
mothers aren't.
Your mama was nagging you. Your mama's on your back. Like, I don't know how you think you wind up with a girlfriend and a wife that's never going to say anything to you. Now, I don't think it should be a nagging all the time, but I also think it's kind of odd to expect that there will never be a time that things are expected of you.
Here's where I'm gonna attack you. No, I'm just playing. But I'm gonna push back on that, right? Because we want to pick and choose what we want to put up with from mothers, and then what not, right? Because when we want you to do something that our mothers did, right? I.e.,
I'm not saying go ahead. Let me let you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not talking. So, like, when men talk about, like, I want a woman who cook, or my mama did this, or my mama, because we talked about the difference between daddy's boys and mama's girl. I mean, daddy's girls and mama's boys, right? Like, we look at daddy's girl as a positive, like, oh, he taught her how she needed to be treated, and he did this and he did that. And so a lot of women who had good fathers in their life expect the man that they're with to be an extension of their father, right? And so when we have mothers that have done for us, it's like, oh, but I ain't your mama. But now it's like, oh, well, your mama.
Yeah, that's not what I was saying.
I know what. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, okay. So let me clarify. Let me let you clarify.
Yeah, I got that. I was just saying you've had a model, right? And so even if it's not towards you, your mama was nagging your daddy. Like, I don't think there's anybody that can't say they didn't see their poor daddy go through it. Now, again, hopefully not all the time, because that leads to other things. But I'm like, if you grew up in a situation where the woman literally never said anything to the man, she likely was under his thumb.
What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all for watching the XrossroadZ Podcast. Take 1 second, hit that subscribe button, and like the page so you can get alerts for any time we go live or drop new episodes. Hit that subscribe button.
Right, it was like, I don't have any education, I don't have any money, I don't have da.
That's almost implying that a peaceful woman doesn't exist.
That's not.
I know you're not.
That's not what I said, because, like I said, it should not be all the time, right? But I don't know that there was ever, or there could be, a situation where a woman is not expressing a missed expectation in some kind of way. But like, you lived in a house where that was never done. So then your expectation in your own household is that that's never done. That's all I'm saying. I'm just like, you experienced it growing up, even if it wasn't directed toward you. You saw it with your mom and dad, or maybe a mom and a stepdad, or maybe whoever she might have been dealing with, probably and some of you, to the point where you was looking for it not to be like that in your household. But it's just a amazing to me. It's just like, yeah, she cool. She don't trip. She don't this. She don't that. But I'm like,
right. But
many of y'all grew up in that.
Yeah. But that's also a difficult one because it's that double standard, right? Because if a man is like that or a father is like that, then it's controlling and abusive behavior when it really both is. And
exactly. No, I'm not saying one is better.
No, I'm not saying
the other. I'm just saying
societally,
the expectation of
but
somebody not to trip.
But yeah, no, as a society, we look at, oh, she's just being a woman, and women be tripping, right? But growing up, as young people, we be like, hey, bro, my mama gonna trip. Like, don't even do that. Or even like dad will tell you, like, man, just chill. I don't want to hear your mama mouth. Just go do this. Like he don't even agree with it, but it's like do this just to keep her from tripping. And I just don't feel like I'm not living like that. I'm never going to live to keep you from tripping. If you can't have some type of emotional regulation, and I'm not saying that you can't express dissatisfaction with something, but the same. Well,
that's what I think. I'm on that wavelength. I'm not talking about flying off the handle. And I
think it's expected for dissatisfaction to be expressed, but just like women are talking, often say it's not what you say, it's the way you say it. That still holds true for you, right? So if you know me, and I'm a firm believer of, if there's something that you want from me, then you need to communicate it in the way that I'm going to receive. Right. Yeah, and vice versa.
I think that's fair.
So if there's an ask, like, look, if I'm saying, Dre, whatever, right? And I need you because it's behavior that I need from you for me. So the way I communicate that, if I'm expecting you to receive that, then I need to come with that type of energy, right? But thinking that you're gonna be able to come and right, and somebody's supposed to respond positively. And I'm not saying that I know you're not saying that, but that's how it plays out a lot of times. And so what we're talking about, like, my girl don't even be tripping, or like how many dudes don't go to guys' nights, or we don't go out with our friends and stuff like that because she's gonna trip.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. That really is unfortunate. And I think and I've said this many times, particularly at the onset of the pod, really is, sometimes feeling like you are trying to avoid landmines, right? Something might really bother me, but I got to figure out how to express it, because if I happen to express it, in a raw manner or honestly or whatever, then, he's going to shut completely down. And now that's weaponized. We can't even communicate. Okay. If I don't say anything, then that reinforces behavior that I absolutely do not want or do not like. And now it's going to repeat itself because I didn't say anything. So you're constantly trying to some women can constantly be trying to figure out how to best communicate and regulate the emotion of whatever it is. Perhaps it's something that you all have talked about before. Perhaps it isn't. I remember, a circumstance, something triggered me, and I know, like, he didn't do anything to me. That was the worst part, because I was just like, this don't have nothing to do with him. This has to do with an experience I had prior to, but this thing, I felt it rising up in my chest, and I was just like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Because if I burst into tears, like I really feel like doing, it's going to scare the hell out of him, or he's going to be like, she's crazy, or both. Right. And
tears are not fair to us. It's like,
right. And so then it's going to feel like I'm trying to be,
emotionally manipulated.
Right. And at the end of the day, and that's why I said, like, I had to practice it, but it was better to learn how to communicate honestly and say, this may not make any sense to you. But when you did that, even though I know,
wait, like, let's sit in that real quick, because that was actually real good, right? Like, it's acknowledging that what I'm feeling may be irrational.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, and you may not get it, and so it's like it's kind of like, let me kind of soften this, right? You know what I mean? So that you're not guarded. This may not make sense to you.
Right.
And so it's like, okay. And you're also, there's an underlying, you're telling me it's not really me, but it's me. Or I did this and it made you feel this, and it doesn't make sense, but this is what it is.
Right. And
You know?
and I want you to be aware so
Right.
that if you choose to not
Mhm.
do this anymore, thank you.
Mhm.
If you I guess maybe have if you don't necessarily feel like it needs to be changed, I guess, then we can at least have a conversation about it, and I can start to work through what that means for me.
Mhm.
And so yeah, just having the conversation. And I remember just feel on the inside like, this is the craziest thing. I know I sound crazy, I look crazy, like I was so all on myself. And from what I can remember, I don't remember him responding in that way. Maybe
Mhm.
on the inside, he was
But you
like,
probably
this fool.
disarmed them with,
Yeah.
this is not going, this
And
may
I
not
just
make
was
sense.
like, okay, I felt safe.
Mhm.
And it's not something that I don't think I, really deal with or would think or feel the same kind of way anymore, because I think I was able to, one, just get it out,
Mhm.
and say like, this is something I wrestled with when I was, in this space and with this person. And it was a realization of like, I'm not in this space, I'm not in that space, I'm not with that person.
Mhm.
And again, this doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
And then the acknowledgement of like, okay, I hear you. And he just, he sat with it, and I think he like held my hand, like, like,
Mhm.
okay, like I hear you, again, even if I don't and I don't think he said I don't understand. I don't think he said any of that. It was
Mhm.
just, that type of reassurance. And so all that to say, friendships, relationships, um, they just require, I think, good ones that you want to endure and stand the test of time. They do require us to be vulnerable in a way that we may not necessarily be willing to be or ready to be. But honesty, communication, all that stuff, even if you have to like close your eyes and grit your teeth to get it out, I think it's so helpful to have that in a partner that's a friend, or someone that you are romantically linked
Mhm.
with. We have things in our relationships that friendships don't require, and I think talked about that before. I mean, we even get into the whole sexual part, because that is different. You're friends with somebody, and then that turns romantic, and then you're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
It's weak.
um
You can say
Oh
it's
my
weak.
God. Yeah, that, how devastating is that? We talked through, emotional regulation. And I think, whether it's a friend or a romantic partner, we all need to exercise some level of control over our emotions. And if that's something that you can't control, then, seeking
Mhm.
help is the best thing that you can do, because no one should be required to be abused or mistreated, mishandled, because
Mhm.
you can't handle your own
Let
stuff.
me let me ask you this question, and I'm not going to
Mhm.
ask you personally
Okay.
because I don't even think you can. It's not probably not even appropriate for you to answer.
Okay.
So I'll ask if you believe other people do. Do you
Okay.
think people are more candid conversationally in their friendships or relationships? And let's say if it's a friendship that went from friendship to relationship, right?
Mhm.
Because so like we talk about any and everything. I don't think that we started um I don't want to say closed off, but there are things that we don't discuss since you got married, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, there's things that are sacred in your marriage. But pretty much outside of your marriage, we
Mhm.
talk.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean? We
Yeah.
talk. And so I wonder if in general people are as open in conversations with their partners as they are with their friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, do you like, I ain't saying that, because you know what I mean? That those unspoken expectations, or we put these barriers up, or we create boundaries. It's like, I feel like we create more boundaries in relationships than we do friendships, right? Like
Absolutely.
we're way more open. We're like, this my friend. We talk about everything. And that's one of the flexes about friendships. We can talk about anything. We talk about everything.
Yeah.
And then you go home and you can't talk to the person that you're with.
Yes. And I think for a couple of reasons, sometimes I would say more so for men, but maybe for both is the what is me saying this going to mean thereafter? Right? Like, is this gonna start a fight?
If you ain't said a word,
I'm just saying, I think that is why y'all are like, yeah, never mind. I'm gonna just keep this over here.
And especially if y'all ask us a question. I wish I saved this video. Like, the mental processing that we have to go through, and we have to go through this quickly. When we get, especially a what if question.
Yeah. So you guys are trying to, you're trying to avoid conflict.
We're trying to promote whatever
whatever's gonna keep the waters from being choppy. And sometimes I don't know.
And y'all know it's gonna make the waters choppy. And it's like,
I'm like, are we coming to you with something to make it choppy? I don't know. I'm trying to think of the last time like that. Was that my actual intention? And I think I've said to you, there's certain things I don't ask him. Like, I'm just like, one, because as far as I have experience, he does not lie.
If I was
so it's
around,
like, I'm like, he's going to tell me the truth and not necessarily, try to spare, he's not hurtful, but he's not going to necessarily,
he's not going to lie. I'm not answering to hurt your feelings. Like, I'm not saying this to hurt your feelings, but I'm not gonna try to keep from hurting your feelings, right? I'm just answering.
Exactly. Very, very black and white. And so, there's just certain things that I'm like, I'm gonna skip that for me.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you know that, like, why would you even do that?
Right.
So I would say that, right? You know your partner, you know your friend or whatever, like certain stuff you don't even need to, but other than that, I'm just like, I'm trying to think, like, am I coming to you with like something that's gonna, I don't want to fight. I don't want to be in disagreement. So I'm probably, not gonna do that. Now, I will say, and I've done this, for years, particularly with you, right? Like we'll rehearse, give me a this where I am. Help me to get over here.
I think my favorite one of those moments is the bobby pin.
Yeah, like, help me to get.
Yeah, because it was like, well, did you ask him? Just ask him.
Yeah,
and you were like, wait, really?
It was like the most novel idea, right? And sometimes you just need that because again, I'm here. I thought it was what it was. And so I was just rolling with that. What do we do with this piece of information that we have and the way it looks right here? And so to have, a friend or a sibling or a parent or whoever that you can kind of bounce that initial thing off of. Also, and I'm not saying, we choose to be more candid in our friendship sometimes because we don't value our partners and our spouses, but also these people know us in a way that, right, may not have materialized yet over here. Or you knew me as I was developing, what went into me becoming who I am now. Whereas my spouse has the benefit of the past 10 years where I've been pretty much a different person, right? Like in the early years, he does not know me to react physically first. He's heard it. He has not seen it. So it's like, perhaps some things to him is like, I don't really get that. That's not
I
the
remember that.
person.
But first of all, I remember that phone call after
Yeah. Yeah.
the lady in the street.
You don't know that. Yeah. But right. So our family members, our friends, those that have that kind of experience with us and tenure with us, and has seen kind of the worst, I guess, if you will.
I won't even say the
There's
word,
comfort.
just different. Just different.
Different.
Younger.
Hi, roadies and road dogs. While you're enjoying this episode, don't forget to stop and subscribe to our Patreon. For just a few dollars a month, you'll have access to episodes 48 hours in advance, plus polls, live Q&A, and reaction videos. You'll also get access to a wonderful community. So go to the website on the screen or scan the QR code. And we can't wait to see you in our Patreon community. Immaturity, whatever, right? And so there's a comfort there in, these people, they love me, they've been here, they're not going anywhere. And I'm not saying that I personally feel like my spouse is gonna leave me if I were to do any of those things. But for some people, that's a very real possibility. Like if I slip, or if I show this side of me, or if this part of me was ever a current reality, it could endanger what I have. And they don't necessarily feel safe completely in the relationship. And so they are able to be their full selves in one place, and then they have to be their more evolved self.
And that goes back to the original question, right?
Yeah.
It's when you just jump one, it's like, again, we fail to establish friendships before we get into a relationship, but you have this set of expectations and stipulations and standards and all this other stuff for a relationship, and people aren't being their authentic selves. They're meeting, they're following a rubric. You know what I mean? And sometimes that creates misery. It creates contention in the relationship. It's like, oh, well, what's wrong with you? I'm not me. And I can't even tell you that I can't be me. Like this person that I'm coming home being every day is not me. Right. Like the video of the dude in the car. And then the wife came outside video, like, why are you in the car? He in the car knocked out in the driveway. And so instead of like, dang, are you that tired, babe? Did you have she goes, is your life that bad that you have to sleep? She made it about her, Oh, well, I'm gonna get in there and sit in the car with you. He was like, no. Like she demonstrated,
leave me be.
That video, right? Leave me alone. That's all I want. I want to be left alone. I want peace, and you are not peaceful. And so I think so going back to like mothers, like if we've grown up in a household with a mother that is not peaceful, right? And I think a lot of dudes are conditioned, like dudes that were raised by mothers, and like my mother was in my life, but I was raised by my father, which is why I'm different, right? So like when you're young, especially for boys, your mama see you relaxing, sitting, right? She gonna find something for you to do. You need to be going do this. It's like comfort. What is that? And then it just moves into, it's like. And so my philosophy is always like, look, empty hands don't mean available hands. I deserve rest, just like you do, right? I deserve peace. I deserve relaxation. Your to-do list is not my emergency. And then it's just because even if you ask me to do something, just because you ask me to do it doesn't mean I have to get up and do it right now. I'm an adult. I'm not your employee, Now, that's not to say that some things like, hey, if you need help, but also express the urgency. I've heard a lot of people respond and say, well, why do I have to do that? Why, if I'm asking you, you should know I need.
Right.
Right. You asked me to mop the floor and I said, okay. And I keep watching the game. Right. You didn't say people were coming over in an hour.
Right.
Right.
That part.
You didn't say so. The thing is I just think in so many levels, we fail to consider our partner's experience with us. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
all about what somebody can do for you. And if we're both only thinking what they are or aren't doing for me, right? And so before I make this request or make this assumption or make this ask or right, let me consider their experience, especially if I'm coming, oh, well, you always or never, all right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, what is, she got something too that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so it's just in relationship, I think we live in an age where we don't build value, right? We
Mm-hmm.
want
Mm-hmm.
we want to express perceived value. Like something that's super asinine to me is you expect someone to do something for you because you do it for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it was a restaurant conversation. Oh, well, I expect him to take me here because I take myself there. What does that have to do with me? That has nothing. You have not earned that from me. We don't have history or experience enough for you to demand that from me just because that's what you do for
Right.
yourself, right?
Right.
So what if he says, well, hell, I have sex with myself.
Oh.
So, right? So she's like, why did I have sex? Because I do it for myself. Now,
Yeah.
if we're following that logic,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Well, I cook for myself. So now you need to cook for. I fix my own plate. So I need you to fix that, right?
Yeah.
None of that has anything to do. What I do for myself has nothing to do with you, right? It's what do I prompt you to do for me through my actions or my existence? What is it about me that prompts you to want to do for me? And vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. It's like, wow, they were really kind and they did this and they showed this gesture. I really like how they made me feel. It makes me want to
Yeah.
do this, And I think, I'll speak for myself in this. That's a huge angst that I have in dating. I mean, you've been around long enough to know I don't have a problem doing. I'm a doer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem taking anybody out. I don't have a problem cooking for you. I don't have a problem. I like to do all that stuff.
Right.
Reciprocity, right? I'm a poet. You've seen me write poems. I done wrote poems for people, right? I've been people's ghostwriter. You know what I mean? But you can't just come in and demand that at hello.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so again, we're not considering someone's experience. And there's this video going around now. And let me just say respectfully, Jill, I love you.
Uh-oh.
Everybody loves Jill Scott, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's got this video, and everybody is just more on the ASMR of it because the way she's saying it, she's saying it real sexy though. She's talking
Okay.
about like going out, and I want you to do, and it was this whole list of things that she wants him to do, and I want you to do this, and I want you to do that, and I want you to
Oh,
do
I did
right,
see that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But then I was triggered by it, right? Because there was the part where you said, and I don't want you to, when you get there, I don't want you to fuss if I'm not ready. I want you to be patient. No, right? Not after that list you just gave me. Like you want all these things. The least that you can do for me is show me
Mm-hmm.
that you respect me and my time and the fact that I planned this out and most likely, right? Like
Yeah.
you wanted me to plan this. I planned it in advance, yada, yada, yada. I need you to show me the respect of being ready
Mm-hmm.
at the time. Like I told you the time. I didn't tell you the time the day of. I didn't tell you an hour before we're going, right?
Right. Right.
Unless we were deciding to do something spontaneous. I get that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if I've made this plan well enough in advance, you've had all day to plan what time, how long it takes you to get ready,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So for me, it goes a long way to show that you respected me and my time enough to be prepared for what I've prepared to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be all you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in hopes of a payoff after I do all the, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really at this age, I'm on some samesies. Same time, right? Because I don't trust you. I don't trust that if I've put all this ever in and there's no payoff, and I'm not just talking about sex, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I date parallel, right? We're doing this. We are going to do for each other. We are going to do what two interested people do. I am not interested in anybody that's just sitting back waiting for me to go first all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like nah, because it shows me, it sets a precedent. You know what I mean? Because that's not leading, it's just following a pattern, because this is what you have to do in order to date. So if it's going to be like that, if you're not 100% in along with me, I'm good. I don't care how
Mhm.
fine you are. I matter
Right.
too.
Mhm.
So
All right. Well, I think that will help us move into our final thoughts. A lot has been, said and expressed, and I think, anytime we have conversations, it's an opportunity to see um, the different sides, right? Like we bring our own experiences in, and typically, I represent for the women, even though I realize and recognize I am not representative of every woman.
on this show
And
you are.
vice versa. Y'all don't
You.
always represent me. But I understand. I stand in
Mhm.
proxy. And I try to do so understanding what can be at the heart and the root of some of the things that I hear, that I can relate to and or agree with, and then some things that I just can't. And I think, I don't want people to throw rocks at me. I, in particular about Jill Scott, and I've been waiting for like a safe place to place this. I'm a fan. Full stop. I have all of her projects. I have followed her since the 2000. But I sometimes hear things that she says, and I'm like, I and not even necessarily that thing, but it just reminded me that I was like, it feels fake deep to me. I don't know any other. I'm so sorry. So somebody gonna be mad at me, and those that y'all love my voice, you're not gonna like that I said that. But sometimes I'm like, because again, we are all of us, right? Like very mesmerized by her, being and her speech and prose, and of course, because that's a
And
part
that
of her
smile, yeah.
whole get up and get down. But then, I kind of look at what we've seen in practice over this. So artistry aside, if you have followed her, what her life and her relationships and the, things, have looked like. And so I'm like, is all this stuff that you telling us to do, is that not working over there? Anywho, that has nothing to do with the friendship and relationship. So I'll let that go, and we can pick that up another time.
I know that was hard to say.
It was. I was like, oh Lord, somebody's good, but it's how I
It is,
feel.
yeah.
I don't dislike her.
Mhm.
And like I said, I'm a fan, but then sometimes just like this feels a little
Yeah.
something. So anywho, what I think we have discussed from both sides, I think what I was getting to before I went on the Jill Scott tangent is always appreciating being reminded, for all of us women, right? Like we're not in relationship alone. We're not in friendship alone, right? Men do not exist solely to cater to our every whim. Like I am often still 10 years in, very surprise is not the word, grateful, appreciative. Sometimes it does catch me off guard, the ways in which my husband regards me or may do things for me or consider me or ask, right? I think I expect it to the point of I know that's who he is, but not in a way that would um sully the love behind it or like the sacrifice behind it. Because again, the longer you're with somebody, even when they want to do things for you or be kind to you or show you love in various ways, and particularly in the way that you want to see it. And it may not necessarily be their preferred love language. That takes something from each of us, right? And then depending on what day it is, depending on, what the life situation is, what your job situation is. Like, we don't always feel like being, sunshine and roses all the time. And so for someone to do that and extend that, to you, even through those times, those days, those seasons, it goes a long way to recognize and appreciate that, whether it's a friendship or a relationship. And I think in friendships, we realize this person doesn't have to. And so we are like, oh, thank you so much. You're the greatest. And then in relationship, it's like, oh, you have better. And we don't, give that same appreciation or thought to what it is that that they're doing. So, I believe that our intention is for our relationships to feel how many of our friendships feel, right? Safe, low pressure, right? When we talk about, oh, she's cool, she doesn't trip, hopefully you guys are not imagining a relationship where there's absolutely no waves, but it shouldn't be, waves that will, take you out to sea and drown you, right? Like it just, I should be able to kind of, okay, all right. I should be able to ride them, versus them overtaking me. Honest communication. And again, if that's what we ask for, we have to be ready for what comes with that. I am a proponent of, if you can't fool with it, don't fool with it. And it's okay. Like, okay. Like, if I want honest communication, but I don't want you hurting my feelings, then you probably don't want completely honest communication. You want what feels good. And that's what it is. That's what it is. Permission to be human. We give our friends permission to mess up, to not be on their P's and Q's, to not have their best day, to be impacted by whatever's going on around them. But we don't often extend that to our partners, our spouses. And right alongside of that, I would end with room to grow, right? Again, our friends, we've been friends since the sandbox. I understand that you are growing, evolving, changing as we get older. And even, at this point in time, you're going to continue to grow and change. Well, so is the person that you're with, hopefully. Now, there are some people who don't want to make any development, maybe is a better word than saying changing, right? But we have to give them the space and the time to do it. And I have been guilty of this, because I try to make moves on things quickly, right? When it comes to business, when it comes to, things that the Lord tells me to do, ideas that I have, I try to pull trigger quickly. I don't like sitting on things. But that doesn't make me better or worse than the next person, right? But I realize, I've become very impatient with people in general because I'm like, why don't you just...
Right.
And for some people, it takes a little more. Some people are very cautious. They need to, weigh things out. I need to see what this is going to look like from every side. And you know what? That's important too. I am with somebody who is a thinker. So I'm out there like, not that I don't think, but I process quickly. And I'm like, if there's not any immediate danger, like if I'm not stepping off the curb and going to get hit by a bus, I'm going across the street. But he's thinking about zoning and
how many steps,
what is the traffic flow throughout the day? When does the light turn green and red? And all of those things are needed for our family, right? When we think about how, we are operating in the household that we have, like you need all of that. Sometimes you need to move quickly. And then sometimes you need to stand back and look at the situation. And so just appreciating what each person brings to the table, and how it can benefit you in the long run. So that was a lot. No more than I planned to say, but hopefully.
I mean, listen. Final thoughts is your stage. Final thoughts is your stage. So, my final thoughts are that let us not forget the friendship, right? Friendships thrive because we like each other, right? Love is optional. Sometimes we tell our friends, I love you. Sometimes, you know what I mean? But we like each other. That's why we're friends. Like, you're not friends with somebody you don't like, right? You got family you don't like. You love them because they're family, but you don't like them. Friendships, you love them because you like them. You see what I'm saying? And I think we lose that. I had a conversation with somebody and we were talking about like just the immediacy of relationships nowadays. We just want to hop in at hello and, you know, are you dating somebody else? Does somebody think that they your girlfriend?
They with you, or you with
just
them?
all the questions, the interview, right? And I had to explain to her, we vet our friendships way more stringently than we do our relationships, right? Like, we pay attention to people. Like, I'm not going out with this person because they did this, or I want to hang out with this person because, and it's organic and it's over time. The average friendship, the average best friendship cannot trace the moment. You can trace the genesis of the friendship, like when you became friends or when you met, but when did you become close friends or best friends? You don't, because it just happened one day. One day it's like, you know what, I like this person more than everybody else. You know what I mean? Or this person knows me better, or right? It just happens, but we don't conduct relationships that way, right? Like this podcast, while we talked about it for a few weeks and we planned it out and then we turned the camera on, it was, at the time we started, it was 19 years in the making, right? Because we decided to turn the cameras onto our friendship. What we talk about on this show, these are things we talk about on the phone. These are things we've been talking about for years. Right. You know what I mean? And we bring the stories from 19 years of friendship to the show. So like the bobby pin story, you know, like that's 10 years old, right?
At this point, yeah.
Yeah. So
might be closer to 11 at this point.
It's an old story, but we have so many benchmarks in our friendship, and remember this and remember when, right? And so like when, you know, during our friendship, we would have movie nights. We was making tacos, we popping popcorn, we going out. We had our spots that we went out to, you know, we're both in sorority and fraternity. So we had a lot of mutual friends. So our lives intersected in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Right. And so we built this.
Yeah.
And so, but then we go to a relationship and just think that it's just supposed to happen. And you're supposed to just be this certain way because you decided to be in a relationship. It's not, it ain't a switch that you just flip, and we don't want to do the work to get there.
Yeah.
Right. That's the biggest thing. And we tell this lie, right? Another cliche. Oh, I want to marry my best friend. You just met this motherfucker like 7 months ago. It don't take that long for you to know if you want to marry somebody. Really? And notice that it's never him saying that, right? How many ultimatums have been given? I'm not going to be with somebody for this long, you know? And then we look at other people's lives and insert ourselves in their life. Oh, it couldn't be me. Right. And it's not.
It's not you. Hey, you don't have to worry.
You don't have to worry about it because you still over here single, worrying about how somebody else, like the audacity of you not having somebody, or even if you do have somebody, the audacity to look at someone else's relationship and or marriage and tell them they doing it wrong.
That part.
Oh, y'all shouldn't be like, why are you putting your mouth on their relationship? Do they look happy? You know, and then you have so many people that listen to folks because they like them, you know, and they friends.
Yeah.
And now they got you thinking about something that you wasn't even thinking about before they said it. You didn't have any problem with it before somebody else said it. And then you allow that to govern your relationship. And that's the beginning of the downfall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that don't have people that you talk to and confide in, but you really need to take inventory of your friends and family.
Yeah.
And decide who. You can't just talk to any and everybody just because they're friends or family, right? Who are the people that are going to give you their unbiased feedback, right? Who are the people that can tell you and that you can hear when they tell you the one tripping? Right? So and if I can't get that from you, right? I don't need cheerleaders. I don't need those people that's always, no matter what, gonna tell me I'm right. You know what I mean? So you might be a friend, but you're not the kind of friend that I need for this part of my life. And so it takes time. It takes time to compartmentalize your friends. So why do you think it's not gonna take time with that relationship? You know, you so busy. You too many people are waiting to jump on the social media and be like, she said yes. He said, I said yeah.
Child, that is only the tip.
Right? That's
the iceberg.
You know what I mean? You ain't even started yet. And so you put all this stuff out here, and it's too many people want weddings and not marriages. You want this relationship, but you don't want to build it. And that's the problem, right? It's kind of like we live in an age where it's problematic for someone to say, let's go with the flow. Mm-hmm. That's a problem when someone says like, let's go with the flow. Let's see how things go. I want somebody that's intentional. How can I have an intention of you and I don't know you? Yeah. What is that, right? I don't have an intention. I don't know. Well, you should know if you want to. Do I want a relationship? Yes. That doesn't mean that it's with you.
Right.
And that's what you really want to hear. You want to know if I'm looking for. No, I'm not looking for you to be in that spot. I don't know you. I'm down to spend time with you, right? And consider, these things, but let's build outside of that and spend time and enjoy one another. And if you have a certain boundary, because it's not about, okay, cool, I gotta respect that. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, don't get mad at my boundaries because it doesn't fit your narrative, right? We both got boundaries, and the thing is, you expect work but don't want to do work. And I'm talking to men and women both, right? You expect work, you expect treatment, you expect effort, but we don't want to give it. And it takes effort to build friendship, and it takes effort to build relationships time, and we don't want to do it. And that's why we fail. So with that, I'll put a bow on that. But y'all, until next, because we can go on with this. Listen, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share with all this. It means so much. We'll see our Patreon members, our roadies and road dogs in the Patreon. Y'all gonna get this early and everything, y'all. We can't say enough how much we appreciate the support and your continued support, but we also want to grow. So make sure that you're sharing that with everybody that you know and love and that can glean from the things that we talk about. But with that, until next time, y'all, this has been the XrossroadZ Podcast. And in closing, always remember,
be free to be you.
We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
This has been the XrossroadZ Podcast. And remember, be free to be you.